Hello everybody, I'm Rene Ramos, director of the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives, and this is Rewind, the show that looks back on Florida's past with historic film and video. It's time for another trip back into the past, so sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Rewind.
Venereal disease. These easily prevented, easily treated killers are a raging epidemic. How could such a tragic paradox exist? That's the question this week on Montage. You'll also see the glamorous life of a professional photographer and the surprising amount of work he has to do to earn a living. And you'll meet Dr. Frank Stanton, TV pioneer and former president of CBS. It's all on Montage this Saturday night at 7 on Channel 4. Venereal diseases. These easily prevented, easily treated killers are a raging epidemic. How could such a paradox exist? We'll look into that question tonight. We'll also show you the glamorous life of a professional photographer and the surprising amount of work he has to do. And Joe Abrill's guest is Dr. Frank Stanton, the former president of CBS. These are the scenes we bring together for tonight's Montage. Good evening, I'm Ralph Rennick. Venereal diseases, gonorrhea and syphilis, have plagued man and woman throughout recorded history. Some point to biblical characters who suffered from the diseases, others to our continent's own discoverer.
Now, syphilis is known to modern civilization after Columbus came back from discovering America, and there's one theory that he brought it back with him, having caught it from the American Indians.
Nearly 500 years later, VD is an epidemic, this country's most widespread communicable disease, passed along by sexual or close personal contact and infecting all social classes, races, and ages, although 15 to 24-year-olds get VD most often. It's estimated 80% of all cases are never reported. Even so, last year's study showed 1 out of every 100 persons in the U.S. had gonorrhea, and Dade County led the nation in syphilis cases, 1,200 out of 25,000.
It may have something to do with the lifestyle. That is not to say that the people that live here actually have more sex than people in New York City or Vermont, but it may have something to do with the tourism, people coming down here, staying for 2 or 3 days, and there may in fact even be something to the theory that people are more uptight about having casual sex at home, but when they go on a vacation and the opportunity presents itself, then they take advantage of it, and that may have something to do with it.
Tourism or not is anyone's guess, but we do know syphilis can be damaging. If a person has had contact with a syphilis carrier, a sore will develop on the place of contact, the sex organs, lips, or rectum, within 12 to 40 days. The sore, called a chancre, is usually hard and painless, although some are blistery and open. This is a real problem because one might not recognize the syphilis chancre.
But I wouldn't go so far as to rule anything out. Let's just say that one ought to have a high index of suspicion if a sore appears on his body that could be syphilis, and it's so easy to get it checked.
Gonorrhea produces no sores, but there are symptoms, but they're rarely found in women.
So we might say that one of the problems with the battle against gonorrhea is that 80% of women who have the disease have no symptoms at all. It's around 80 or 90% of men do, and when they have a symptom, it is a burning and a discharge from the penis.
Itching may accompany discharge and burning from gonorrhea. Both it and syphilis can be tested by examining blood and cultures. Both diseases are treated with penicillin. Nearly 100% of early syphilis cases are cured and 85% of gonorrhea cases halted. The county's free VD clinic urges its patients, especially those with syphilis, to let it know who their sexual partners are so they too can be treated.
But what I want you to understand is that everything that transpires here, everything that takes place between what you're telling me is confidential. I will contact these people. I'll never let them know who named them. I tell them that it was a person that was concerned about them, concerned about their exposure to a disease and their willingness to get them treated.
When we do this, we have specially trained consultants that do nothing but go out and locate these people that have been exposed to the syphilis patient, and in a very confidential manner. We never reveal the patient's name. We tell this person that we think he has been exposed to someone that has a venereal disease, and for his health, he should come in for an examination.
Can I help you?
Is Lee home?
Yeah, I'm Lee.
You need to have some tests run as soon as possible to make certain that you don't have this disease, or if you do, that you receive the proper treatment.
Okay, where do I go?
Well, you can come down to our clinic. It's free of charge and it is confidential.
The county goes to this trouble because syphilis victims may not know they have the disease. The chancre sore disappears after a month, but syphilis will remain in the bloodstream.
Then afterwards, you go into a second stage of syphilis, which of course is called secondary syphilis. And in this stage, a rash appears throughout, perhaps all over the body, but not necessarily. And unfortunately, the rash can look like any number of diseases. It can look like chickenpox, it can look like measles, any number of different things.
Bones in the arms and legs can protrude. Hair may fall out. Open and deep sores can cover the face. Eventually, blindness, insanity, even death can occur. Gonorrhea's latent effects are not as bad. Still, women can develop infections in their fallopian tubes, possibly causing sterility. As we said, penicillin will cure most cases of VD. But there's a new strain of gonorrhea resistant to that drug.
Now, there is a new type of gonorrhea that has appeared in the United States recently called penicillinase-producing gonorrhea, which actually penicillin is not effective in. It is not widespread. Penicillin should continue to be the first drug of choice, but in these particular cases, that's when we do have, fortunately, other drugs that will kill this particular type of gonorrhea.
So far, 3 cases have been reported in Florida. Anyone can be tested and treated for gonorrhea or syphilis. The results will be confidential. Those under 18 don't need parental consent. The switchboard of Miami's VD hotline often encourages minors to seek help.
Well, age doesn't make any difference. It doesn't matter that you're only 17. It's confidential, and it's designed exactly for that.
And we do make the referral to the nearest public health department clinic in their neighborhood. We encourage them to go because basically people are a little afraid, and that's really kind of the role that we play, supportive and encouraging them to know that it's confidential, they won't be hassled, it's free, and that it's better to get it checked out. You may not have it, and wouldn't that be nice? But if you do, that's not awful either, as long as you get it taken care of.
Switchboard volunteers tell their telephone callers it's not a sin to have VD. It is a sin not to do anything about it. The county health department says, please do something about VD. Its clinic is free of charge, and records are strictly confidential. If you're still unsure of VD symptoms, want to know where to go for treatment, or are curious about the other less dangerous venereal diseases, call Switchboard of Miami or the Dade County Health Department. It seems that everyone is taking up photography these days, and lots of amateur shutterbugs are trying to turn their expensive hobby into a paying job. Can it be done? We spent a day on location with a nationally known commercial photographer from Miami to find out about this exciting profession. Ads like these depend largely on photographs to sell the product. So the artist who creates these images has to be a salesman too. That's just the way 50-year-old Bob Gelberg likes it. His pictures have sold everything from sports cars to tourist meccas. But whatever the product, it's a job that demands total commitment. Today, shooting will start early. That means getting up before the sun.
It's very simple. The light is most beautiful. You have broad highlights on your subject, and there's a good glow in the sky and some additional color. It's no mystery, and it's the easiest lesson in the world for a neophyte to just try getting up a little earlier, and a lot of subjects are going to look pretty dynamite in a soft glow of a sunrise.
Click at a 45. You read me, Lynn? Come back, click. I'll be shooting toward these with the sun coming up behind us. I'm all set. Just proceed and you get hit. 10-4.
Getting up early is only part of the job. Today's shoot in the ocean off Miami Beach is for a Chris Craft boat brochure and has required a great deal of pre-planning to coordinate 2 boats, a helicopter, and a dozen people in the gathering light of sunrise. The early morning light changes swiftly, so Bob must race with the sun to capture the moment before it's gone.
Okay, all of us, let's go home and we'll meet for breakfast. 10-4, that's a wrap.
The crew assembles for breakfast to discuss the sunrise shoot and plan the rest of the day. Gordon Hauser, Chris Craft Manager of Marketing Services, is acting as art director on this assignment. That's the person who makes sure the photographer understands what his client wants. Gordon and Bob work together to create the shots. Lance Tucker, Gelberg's assistant photographer on all his jobs, is largely responsible for the cameras. Gelberg likes being in a business where the final product is proof of his worth. He can't con someone for very long about his abilities because in the end, his pictures will tell the truth. He also wanted to be honest with you. So, even on location, Gelberg would not pretend to ignore our camera.
Panel, see if the VHF is turned on.
I'm going to listen to, hey there, Glenn, how are you?
Night and decreasing further Tuesday.
Steve in here, please. Steve, I need to talk to you.
Heavy overcast and a light drizzle. Shooting comes to a halt, but nobody stops working. Every member of the crew tries to change plans and work around the weather.
42 over there because the 33 is being launched.
Finally, the sky brightens, and it's time to cast off for the smooth waters of Biscayne Bay. Bob is trying to get some shots that look like they might come from a yacht owner's family album.
Soft smile. Soft right there. That's good. That's nice. There we got it. We got a shot. We got a shot. We got a shot. We got a shot. Let's try some bigger smiles once.
Okay, models and photographers are just words again. There are good ones and bad ones. And models are not just beautiful young girls running around in bathing suits. On this boat photography that you saw, we needed 50-ish kind of men and 30 and 40-ish kind of ladies to look like they could possibly be the owners of the boat.
Lunch comes only when the work reaches a convenient stopping point. In this business, you've got to be flexible. Today, Gordon decides to reward hard work by adding wine and cheese to the usual fare.
Where's the breeze? Okay, that was what I was. That's okay. Quicker to Chris Craft. Split it to get the bracket. I'll please turn. Models in position, and start your run toward the camera. Do your read.
The next setup puts the camera on South Beach Pier and the subject boat offshore. Ignoring the stares of bystanders, Bob is all business. Lance Turner adjusts the light settings while Bob focuses and centers the picture. At least 3 hands are necessary to capture these action shots.
You with me, Lance?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now keep on coming. You're bracketing for me? Yep. We got a shot. Son of a gun.
Turn him out.
Wait a minute. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, dynamite. Really lovely. Let's do it again. Far now to the field.
Bob not only insists on working till he gets the best, but also on shooting more than enough for insurance. Gordon warns Bob that the boat is getting too close to the pier, but Bob orders the boat to stay on course.
No. Let him go. Don't even think of stopping him. Don't even think. It's just getting good. It's just getting good. Never stop it. Just getting good. Okay. Okay. Turn. Okay. Okay, last one, no more. All right.
What Bob means is no more of that shot. Next, he's going to go back on the boat and stage a cocktail party with the model.
I want you to start chatting, mixing drinks, eating little sacks, and then as things happen, I'm going to tell you where to go. Okay? One person could be serving, maybe Betty. You'll be there and asking people what they want. Get back there and lounge a little, get loose, be slouchy, and let's see what happens. Betty, we're shooting very slow shutter speeds. Try and keep your.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Did that help pick up the read at all?
Yeah. That could have been.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I don't want to do anything wrong.
No, I think it's very good.
You know how sensitive I am. Everybody, let's watch. Stay where you are. Ruth Ann, just cheat around towards me ever so little. Okay, that's good. Betty, don't cover her as much as you were before. But the animation was fine. The animation was really fine. Okay. Okay. There we go. That's fine. Who the hell's shoulder do I see there? Hey, Channel 4. Okay, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Let's keep it. Let's get.
In the fading light of sunset, Gelberg finishes with some broadside pictures. For one day on location, he charges $700 to $1,000, but that also includes planning and follow-up details. Gelberg has been shooting since age 11, but he still believes that beginners can become commercial photographers if they give the client what he wants.
Fred. I think the main reason so many youngsters in photography don't do too well too quickly in advertising work, which is where I'm at, is that they just don't understand the industry. A lot of new kids are learning very, like in quotes, artsy kind of stuff, and that's fine, but it's pretty hard for them to comprehend the advertising agency photographer relationship, and the most important thing of all is delivering the job.
10 days later, Bob gives his work to Gordon Hauser and helps him edit the entire day's shoot of several hundred slides down to a handful of possible choices.
I'll put a C on them.
And I love the way the shadow, the wake is on the hull. You notice that?
Yeah, right. I noticed that when we picked it up. Now, this is something different.
There's a whole batch I'd like to throw out, Gordon. These long lens broadsides are dull. See these?
Okay.
Why don't we just keep in a box and label them dull?
Also,
We've shown you only one day of the week Gelberg spent shooting for Chris Craft. The final product resulting from that day is this brochure. So next time you look at a magazine ad or pick up a brochure, think about the labor involved. And who knows, you may be looking at Bob Gelberg's work.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Dr. Frank Stanton, as he just reminded me by talking about the microphone we're using in this interview, has been a pioneer for many years of television in this country, and only recently has become chairman of the Red Cross. So that tells you between television and Red Cross, we have all kinds of things to talk to Dr. Frank Stanton about. Welcome to Montage.
Thank you.
Have you been surprised to see what's happened to CBS? So, I won't say since you left, but,
well,
it is since you left.
It is since I left.
I think it should be noted, yeah.
Yes, I was surprised. For 23 years, or 20, I guess maybe even longer than that, we were, tops in sales and tops in ratings, and it's a little difficult to adjust yourself, I guess, to being in second place. I'm no longer active in the business, although I continue as a director.
Right.
But no, there'll be some changes, I'm sure, because this is difficult.
Did television go, not just CBS, but the industry and its impact on American life, go where you wanted it to go, say 20 years back when it was beginning to be a major influence? If you could go back, would you send it in a different direction?
I think it would be difficult to do under our system of broadcasting. You have to recall that television obviously came right on the heels of radio. A lot of the personalities that were established in radio moved over in front of the camera, so that some of the content was radio with a camera on it.
Right.
Jack Benny is a good example. The Benny Show worked on a, on a flat stage.
The curtain.
Sure. And it was his radio show with a camera there. So that you had that kind of thing, and anything that moved in front of the camera in those days, the public, went for it. It was great. So this encouraged more of the same kind of pattern. Where I got impatient in the early days was the reluctance on the part of the audience more than the broadcaster to tune in the documentaries and the more serious programs. For example, I had a very strong hand in starting Playhouse 90, and you're old enough to remember Playhouse 90. Some people aren't.
Yes, I am.
But Playhouse 90 was, was 90 minutes of very serious drama.
Right.
It would still be on today if we had any audience. But the audience for Playhouse 90 just went down, down, and down to the point where some of our affiliates began saying they didn't want to carry it because they could buy a syndicated show and get higher ratings.
Right.
So that comes back to the rating question again.
Right.
So I guess what I was saying was that I'm not surprised it developed the way it did. I am impatient with the fact that the audience has been a little slow, I think, to catch on to such things as 60 Minutes. Now, there's an example of a show that I think typifies the kind of thing that I thought there would be more of earlier in the history of television. It's had a remarkable...
it's the most popular show in Miami.
Well,
yeah.
That says a lot for what's happening to the audience.
Indeed. But Who's Who was not successful. Seemingly the same kind of show.
But not the same kind of content.
Well, tell us.
Of course, I was there when we started Who's Who, and we had to nurture that, There were affiliates that didn't take, not Who's Who, but there were affiliates that didn't take 60 Minutes when we first put it on.
Right.
And so we had to work pretty hard to keep that in the schedule. Who's Who, or 60 Minutes, was basically a news-focused broadcast. It's news in depth about a hot story, 3 of them each week, roughly.
Right.
Who's Who is much more people-oriented. I suppose if you're drawing a parallel to magazines, you'd say that Who's Who is more like People,
right.
and 60 Minutes is more like Newsweek or Time. Now, that's not an accurate parallel, but...
It's a fair
And
one.
I think in time, Who's Who will take hold. If I were still in the position that I once held, I think I know what I'd do with Who's Who.
Please, what would you do?
Well, I don't know whether anybody will be listening up north.
Well, we never know.
No, I'd put it back to back with 60 Minutes.
Well, now, they're talking about doing that, but I thought that would be a mistake. But I'm interested to hear why
History
you think
doesn't bear you out on that. I started out in this business in research, and I guess that's how I got into the executive office, was through the research door. But in the very early days, we had, in the daytime schedule, we had a soap opera, then we would have in those days, a talk show. I've forgotten the name of one of them, with an organ background and talk and reading poetry. Yeah. Then you come on with a live band, then you come back into a soap opera, and then you come back into talk. My research indicated, when I went out and talked to the audience to try to find out what they did, my field research indicated that if you put those soap operas back to back, they'd all get higher ratings. If you put the others back to back, they'd get higher ratings, and the same for news. In the late 30s, we had, between 6 and 8 in the evening, we had a number of quarter-hour spots of news on radio, I'm talking about now, and they were separated with other material. I took them all and put them back to back, and some of my colleagues said, this is just going to ruin the schedule. They all went up in audience, and the soap operas went up in audience. I think the person who wants the kind of broadcast that's represented by 60 Minutes, and if you'll allow me to say that Who's Who is more like 60 Minutes than it is like some other show.
Right.
That if you're willing to sit and watch 60 Minutes, you'll be hooked to watch Who's Who. Now, I could be proven wrong, but this has been the history of the way audiences build.
Well, certainly you think there's enough history for it to be given a try.
Oh, absolutely, sure,
yeah.
Certainly.
Have you seen the movie Network?
Yes, I saw.
What did you think?
Oh, I found it amusing. I never
Fictional?
knew any...
Fiction?
Oh, well, a large part of it, sure, certainly. I didn't ever know anybody, now I can't even think of her name.
Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway. She never came into my life in broadcasting. That's
Maybe you were sorry she didn't. There's so many things I want to ask you. We only have a few minutes left. But very quickly, would you have paid Haldeman the money to do the interview with Mike Wallace if you'd been there?
Don't think so.
Okay. How about the Nixon-Frost interviews?
I wouldn't have taken it on the terms that it was offered.
Do you think that Nixon should be paid for what he's doing?
I would pay him. We paid Eisenhower when he did his memoirs, but it was an entirely different thing. We didn't have a partnership with the interviewer and a profit-sharing plan and all of that. It's just a different ballgame.
I think it bothers a lot of us, some of the overtones of money and
yes,
check
it bothers
journalism.
me.
We thank you, and I speak for a lot of people. We're sorry you're not in television anymore, but we hope maybe you can come back.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this visit.
Thank you very much. Dr. Frank Stanton. We'll be right back.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Next week on Montage, we'll celebrate the official start of summer with 2 stories about our tropical South Florida weather. We'll find out what would happen here in a major hurricane. And we'll look at Florida architecture to see what kind of a house is ideally suited to our climate. Also, Joe Abril will talk with the author of a book that's been called The Jewish Version of Roots. That's our montage for tonight. This is Ralph Rennick. Good evening.
45. You read me, Lance? Come back, Clinton. I'll be shooting toward these with the sun coming up behind us. I'm all set. Just proceed and you get in. That's what.
That's about it for this edition of Rewind. Just time to remind you that Rewind features historical film and video from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collections, visit our website, wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the archives catalog and watch video online. And be sure to connect to our YouTube channel, where you will find hundreds of carefully curated clips, or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. Until next time, I'm Rene Ramos. Thanks for watching.